Haley Show, and I'm excited about my guest today. He was the first runner-up American Idol, season 7 at 16 years old, and he has a new song coming out. It's going to be amazing to talk about in this story. David Archuleta. David, thanks for stopping by. And it's so real, right? From the days of American Idol to today, right?
Hey, thanks, Neil. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. That is like half my life ago, this show, but um, a pretty amazing experience.
Exactly. At 16 years old, there's not a lot that have had that age, right? To be competing in a music, especially like American Idol. How did you have that opportunity? Tell us a little bit about that story.
Well, I guess I was a fan of watching American Idol. The first season I watched, and it was a pretty inspiring experience to learn all these new songs that I hadn't heard before. We didn't have the streaming platforms yet, so a lot of the way we discovered music was by watching that show and hearing people sing songs from the 60s and 70s, 80s, and be like, "Wow, what is that song? I'm gonna have to find it. And who's that artist? I have to find more of their catalog." And also just watch people like Kelly Clarkson and Ruben Studdard, Fantasia, uh, become these household names. Is I was just like, wow, it would be cool to audition for that show sometime. And when I was 16, finally, I was old enough to go, and I auditioned. My dad took me down to San Diego, waited in line for a couple days. There were 15,000 people there,
Wow.
and I don't know what caused me to stand out from the 15,000 people that were there. There were a lot of great singers there, but I'm glad I did, because now I'm able to do what I do still. What is it, 16 years later?
Wow. That's crazy. It just seems like yesterday, right? You talk about American Idol any season. I mean, and all those different things. But the story's not about American Idol. And David, I just like to get that because that just kind of gives you that background for people. But the ultimate situation's your story. You made it into a song. All right. I see a memoir in your works. Okay. And I see
Yeah.
specifically enough, so you got to put that on your bucket list. But I see what the story of what you grew up in, if that's correct, Mormonism, to coming out, how challenging that is. It's so tough when people finally figure out who they are. It took me till I was like 50 years old, David, to come out in a way of who I am and what I want to be and how I want to live my life. So it's good you figured out things a little earlier than I have in like my career path and where I'm going and what I want to accomplish in life. And through this process, it's got to be hard, right? It's not an easy thing, especially how you were raised.
No, but I think that's great. First off, that you're able to, wherever you are at life, you know, even if you're 50, like, to be able to find and discover what you feel is works for you and feel something connect and click. I think that's great. Um, when I sometimes people are like, "Well, do you regret not coming out sooner?" And I just thought, I think it's just my path, and it was when I was ready and had everything I needed to figure myself out. And so I'm just glad to be where I am now, and to not. I guess it's a scary thing to have a life transition, to be like, well, my life looked at like this the whole time for 30 years, and now I'm not sure what is going to happen next, or who I'm supposed to be, because I always identified myself with my religion before, and now that I stepped away from that, it's like, okay, I have to find my new identity. But it's also really exciting because it's like, wow, I get to discover so much more new stuff. And yeah, it's kind of like a new. It feels like being like starting again, like
Yeah,
like being a baby again
reborn.
and like discovering everything. Yeah, being reborn.
Yeah,
So
and it totally fits in the situation. I separated and I was separated and divorced, and totally just kind of changed who the person I was. And I felt better in my skin. I believed in myself. I saw that. Well, I know you're kind of in your same type of a transition that you enjoyed. It didn't seem like it was such a horrible thing, your faith, but ultimately at the end of the day, it coincided with what your true purpose was, what your sexuality was. And this is unacceptable, right?
uh, yeah, I think to have a new view on like what was something that I thought, well, that's wrong and that's bad and that can never be okay. But that mindset also made me never okay with myself. So to finally be able to be like, well, what if I just accepted me, accepted myself, and loved me as I am, rather than never thinking I'm okay. And that made such a huge difference and opened up so many new opportunities because it's like you learn how to love yourself and have confidence in who you are and treat yourself so much better than you ever did before. And there are a lot of things I loved about my religion, but I also felt like I needed to look down on myself. And I thought that was a good thing. I thought I was doing a good thing doing so, but man, it just feels so different when you give yourself TLC, and
Yep.
it's made all the difference.
And that's the thing we're kind of forced from growing up in different ways is to not learn to love ourselves. Dee Wallace, from she was on in ET and all, and a famous actress, been on my show multiple times. She's told me, even when I was going through this transition, I had her on my podcast, and she said, "No, Neil, you need to love yourself." And I didn't get it when I was on the show with her at 49, and I totally get it today.
Mm.
It's 2 years later, but you know what I
I,
mean? I totally get it
yeah,
now.
yeah, it really makes a difference, and I think that's great that you're able to, you know, like I said, wherever stage you are, and sometimes you have to just relearn it or remind yourself, like, hey, it's okay. Yeah. When you learn how to love yourself, you it's like a new energy that comes into your life. And sometimes it's hard, but it's like, no, but I can't love myself. I made this mistake, or I'm this way, or I don't like this about me. And when you're able to just love yourself wherever you are, it's like it's like a pick me up. You just start leveling up, going to the next level. It's like, oh, I didn't know I could level up like this. So I hope people can learn, wherever they are, if they haven't learned to love themselves yet, that they can and feel that level up. It's a really amazing feeling.
Right, and your song tells the story, right? When did you come out? Is this right before the songs come out? When did you come out?
I came out the summer of 2021,
Okay.
and I released this song just about a month or so ago. So I I tried to stay in my religion for a little bit, but then I realized it just wasn't going to work, and so I left my religion and I announced that, and I didn't hear from my mom for a couple of days, who was really devout as well. And so I thought, oh no, she's she's ticked off. I upset her, and she finally texted me back, and she said, "Hey, I decided to," or she not text me back, but she finally texted me and said, "Hey, I left. I stepped away from the church as well." And I thought, what? What? And she said, "I don't want to be somewhere where my children don't feel loved and welcomed. If you're going to hell, then we're all going to hell with you. We're a family, no matter what, through the good and the bad." And I thought that was really sweet of her to say. So I decided to write a song, and thus this new song, "Held Together," based off of what my mom had told me that day.
And I don't think you expected the response you're getting, right, David, by putting this out?
Um, no, through the good and the bad, there's been pretty polarized reactions to the song, but in the end, I feel like it's kind of brought a conversation where it was needed to be had, especially like with my old church community. So I think it's really been a great thing, and it's been amazing to hear people's stories. A lot of people have said, I wish my family supported me the way your mom did, because a lot of people, their family, th- get really divided on that topic of coming out, especially in religious communities. So
Yeah.
I I just hope that it keeps the conversation going so that people don't have to kind of be cut off. Where people don't have to be cut off because they feel like because their family feels like that's the right thing to do in the name of God, you know?
Right. And you put that theme of you coming out versus somebody transitioning to a different life or finally seeing and who they become who they are at a specific point in life. You could be an inspiration to so many people in this process. And the song is going to lead you to more and more of an awakening to learn to love yourself. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
Powerful. Yeah, powerful. What's next for you after this song?
After this song, well, I'm doing a lot of pride events. I did one last year over the summer, and now it was really a great time. I really love doing them. Before I was really afraid of pride because I thought, oh, like pride is such a horrible word in religion. You're like, you don't want to be proud and prideful, but I think I've understood what the meaning is, where it's like, you've been ashamed of who you are for so long, and you're told, like, you're encouraged to be ashamed of what you are for being anything in the LGBTQ plus community. And so to be in a place where it's like, you know what, we're just be proud of who you are, and let's celebrate each other. Let's celebrate that a lot of us, it was not easy for us to get to this point to be out.
Right.
um, and so now to be able to be here, be present, and not have to hide that and celebrate it is a really beautiful thing. So I'm really looking forward to those. And I'm working on new music, so I'll be releasing some more songs here in the near future as well. I've been writing a lot, and I just can't wait to get the rest of this stuff out.
All right. Everyone needs to check out Held Together. Thank you, David. And I appreciate you coming by.
So thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right. You're listening and watching The Neil Haley Show. We'll be back in just a moment.